Just how big is this next game for USC? I mean, Trojans versus Nebraska, that's always going to be a big game. It's a helmet game, two of the most iconic brands in college football. But this Saturday, there's a lot at stake for both programs. Lincoln needs to cook in Lincoln.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you are watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, you already know the routine. You pick the platform. This show's always going to be free. This show will always appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Both teams have two losses already. USC, they're 5-2. Nebraska, 6-2. USC only has one conference loss. They lost at Illinois by 2 points. We know that whole thing. We're not going to go over that again. The Huskers, they have two losses in conference. At home against Michigan, and then on the road at Minnesota. USC's other loss. We know that happened a couple weeks ago at Notre Dame. Nebraska already understands how big of an opportunity this is for them. Night game, a lot of hoopla around this thing. It's going to be a night game, blackout. They're putting on their black uniforms. They're asking all their fans to show up wearing black. It's going to give them a chance to, bounce a ranked USC team out of the playoff race. All that's going on. For USC, they have a chance to win on the road against a team that's already bowl eligible. A Trojan win will put USC, not only in the bowl field, they'll get their sixth win, they'll be bowl eligible, but it also keeps their playoff hopes alive. There's a chance for them to make that playoff field. And then even adding more drama to the matchup. Did you know this? That the last time Nebraska was playing a game in the month of November when they had two losses or fewer or less, that was 2016. So, yeah, they're looking to turn that page and say, hey, we're back. But the Huskers went on to lose the month of November in 2016. It wasn't a good time. But they don't want to repeat that same scene. They don't want to see that repeating itself. As far as USC, this is more than likely their best chance to get at least 2 wins on the road in conference. They already have that one at Purdue in the bag. That's taken care of. We knew that was going to happen. Talked about that at the beginning of the season. Right now, they only have 2 chances to get another win, so they can get 2 conference road wins. Saturday in Nebraska, and then later in the month, November 22nd at Eugene against Oregon. USC still has Northwestern, Iowa, and UCLA at the Coliseum this year. That's their 5-game stretch. Nebraska, they come home with Northwestern, then they get Iowa, and then they go on the road to Oregon, and they come home to play UCLA. I gave you my formula for 10-2 before the season started. You have to go undefeated at home. That's 7 wins right there. Win at Purdue, now you're at 8. Right? Everyone understood that Notre Dame, Oregon were going to be the tough gets on the road. I don't think anybody would argue that Notre Dame and at Oregon were going to be the 2 tough games for USC to win on the road. We know what happened at Notre Dame. I mean, we knew that USC's best chances to win away from the Coliseum were at Illinois. That didn't happen. And Nebraska. Those were the smart picks. Well, we know USC pooped the bed in Champaign, among other things, that they pooped. And that means USC has to win in Nebraska. If they want a fighting chance, they have to figure out a way to win at Austin. And assuming USC beats Northwestern and Iowa, that sets up that UCLA matchup for a chance to be 10-2. Look, I will never say that 9-3 is good enough at USC. Unfortunately, that's I think that's what we're staring at right now. The Husker faithful, they're going to be all juiced up for this game, right? They know that things are a little weird with Matt Rule right now. His name's being floated for that Penn State job. If they win this game, if Nebraska pulls this game out, all of a sudden, I guess at Husker Nation, they're feeling good about themselves. They're 7-2. And now all of a sudden, hey, you know what? They're starting to talk playoffs again. Because if you can finish the season 10-2, there's a really good chance you're going to get an at-large bid playing in the big conference. It's the best conference in America, without a doubt. If they lose, I mean, who knows what happens? But Nebraska, they know they need to win this game. This is their best chance of beating a ranked team at home. A Trojan win, a USC win on the road, that puts them in a really strong position to finish the season with a great record. And it could be that, it could be the start of that winning streak they need, especially if they want to make the playoffs. Winning in Lincoln, Nebraska can send USC home feeling really confident that they took a step in the ascent. We've been talking about this recently. Coach Riley talked about, getting back to the top. The toughest thing is winning on the road, especially against ranked teams. Nebraska's not ranked. Maybe they should be. And again, they're 6-2. But after this Nebraska game, they'll have four more games left. And they're going to have to win those 4 games to make the playoffs. I know right now they're focused on this matchup. That's the bottom line. During the bye week, Coach Riley talked about this on the Trojans Live radio show. They're trying to get ready for the stretch run, right? A sprint to the finish, as he called it. And he said it wasn't just about how they practiced. It was about who they practiced with. He really emphasized who. And at least that's what I picked up. And I think what that means is that the staff has identified who they're comfortable with, and the rotation is more than likely shrinking up. We saw that at the cornerback position the last couple of games. It's pretty much been to Carlos Nicholson, Marcellus Williams at cornerback. Very little rotation out there. And I think that's probably going to start happening at the linebacker spot as well. Now, on the other side of the ball, as far as rotation, Coach Riley, he talked about running backs Brian Jackson, King Miller. They're getting a ton of reps this week. And they did as well during the bye week because, they're the guys right now. Those are the 2 dudes. But I do wonder, because he didn't bring it up, and I didn't hear him mention it, I wonder how much Harry Dalton was involved during the bye week and this week leading up to Nebraska. You need more than King. You need more than Brian Jackson. Harry Dalton is I won't call him a home run hitter because we haven't seen him do it in college, but he is an athlete. He played quarterback in college. We know that he makes things happen when the ball's in his hands. There's a reason why a lot of programs were staying after him after he committed to USC, including Alabama. So, I don't know. Again, I'm interested to see if he gets mixed into the rotation a little bit more than what we saw against Notre Dame. And nothing against Riley Wormley, the other freshman running back. But personally, I would just prefer that he just continue to redshirt for the rest of the season. Make sure that reconstructed knee is 100% ready for the 2026 season. So right now, USC is 3-1 in conference. They're trying to get to 4-1. And I think Coach Riley knows this is USC's best chance to win on the road. That game at Oregon will be tough. Not impossible. But if you had to pick between, if you were to put money on it, where is USC going to win? I think the smart money goes USC wins in Lincoln, Nebraska, and has to play a near perfect game at Oregon. I want to believe Saturday will be the day that USC looks and finally plays like a disciplined team on the road. I'm not talking about doing it at Purdue. I'm talking about doing it at Lincoln, Nebraska. They weren't prepared for Notre Dame. They should be prepared for Matt Rule's Cornhusker program. And let's not forget, USC, they're also going to have Elijah Page back at left tackle, which is great news. So I've been told. Now, what I'm curious about is who plays at right tackle. Is it Tobias Raymond or is it Justin Tawanuu? If it is Tobias, then who goes at left guard? Is it Micah? Is it Micah Banuelos? Or do they move Justin back to left guard? And here's another thing. Is Killian O'Connor going to be ready to play at center? I know they're trying to get him ready. I don't know if he will be ready. I'm trying to get some feedback on that. What I do know is this. Is Lincoln Riley needs to call his best game of the season in Lincoln. Because if Lincoln's play calling is cooking, if he's looking like that offensive genius that we all know he is, and we've seen his offense in motion, in action when he's calling the plays. When he's on, he's on. And if his play calling is cooking Saturday against Nebraska, Cornhuskers are done. Popcorn. But it's going to have to start with Jade Mayaba running the offense, right? Quarterback. We're going to talk about that more in the second segment. And then later in the show, I got a little bit of recruiting news for you. USC got another commit for the 2026 class. Interesting pickup there. But yeah, huge game. Lincoln Riley is going to have to show that, you know what? Yeah, the Cornhuskers, they've got a good pass defense, but I got a better passing offense. And I've got a roster full of athletes and a quarterback that they haven't seen yet this season. I'm going to talk about that in the next segment. As you can see, I got there on the rundown board, no sacks and no interceptions. I'm going to tell you how that's going to happen coming up next. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a huge payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So if you're not aware of this, I'm going to let you know. Nebraska, they literally suck at generating quarterback pressure and creating sacks. You don't believe me? Check out this stat. There's 134 teams in NCAA Division I football. Nebraska ranks 128th in the country in generating sacks. They have 12 through 8 games. I want you to think about that for a second. This is a program that produced some big-time NFL talent. J.J. Watt, Nakamba Sue, however you pronounce that dude's first name. Oh, he's a dirty player. I mean, we've seen that happen. But Nebraska has put some guys in the NFL who can play defensive line. You would think that with that kind of pass rush, which is pretty much non-existent, 128th for Nebraska, 12 sacks through 8 games. You would think that their secondary would be getting torched on a weekly basis. That's not the case. This is one of the weirdest stats I've ever seen. A team that creates no pressure on the quarterback, gets no sacks, yet they have the second best pass defense in the country. Now, some of that has to do with the competition they played. But let's be honest here. You're obviously still doing something right schematically when the opposing wide receivers are averaging just 5 yards per catch. You're doing something right. I don't care who you're playing. What Matt Rule, Nebraska's head coach, needs to decide is, can his guys contain Jade Mayaba, Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane, Lake McCree, Walker Lyons? And does Nebraska want to sell out against the run and still stop USC's passing game? That's the game within the game for Matt Rule and for Nebraska's defense. In the Huskers' loss at home to Michigan earlier this season, they held freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood to 105 yards. The difference in that game, well, on the ground, the Wolverines ran for 286 yards. And Underwood had 8 carries for 61 yards. Excuse me. I bring it up on occasion. I think Jaden needs to tuck the ball and run more. These don't have to be design runs. He just has to take what's available. And based on, Nebraska having a pretty good secondary covering up wide receivers, there should be some open grass. You cannot anticipate getting 5 to 6 seconds to wait for a guy to come open. You get 3 Mississippis, and it's time to get rid of the ball or get out of town. So those chances, if available for Jaden, they have to be taken advantage. If Nebraska allows USC to have a balanced offense where the Trojans are running for 150 yards or more, this should and could turn into a game where the Trojans leave with an easy victory. You have to pick your poison, because when USC's offense is balanced, they are hard to contain. They're hard to stop. Without that successful run game, it could be a long trip home with another loss. I can't do that again. I cannot do that again. All right, please help me out here, Trojans. Look, I know the interceptions for Jaden have kind of been stacking up these last few games. This is a game where he has to play better than Nebraska's quarterback, Dylan Raiola. Flat out. He has to be the best quarterback on the field. No picks, no interceptions. Especially, just don't throw it at Sierra, right? You saw what happened when you tried that last year. I think it was the first pass of the game. Don't do that. You never want to see a former Trojan getting the best of a Trojan. And here's another thing. USC's offensive line, it cannot be the first offensive line to get manhandled by Nebraska. Can't happen. Because if it does, guess what? USC has some major issues that need to be addressed. And that starts at the top of the food chain with the coaching staff. And I'm not talking about Zach Hansen. Coach Riley said that Jaden he's literally put USC in a position to win every game he started at quarterback this year. And he's right. That's 100% true. USC has had an opportunity to win both games that they lost. Yeah, I know the defense has not held up its end of the bargain as much as they could, especially that game against Illinois. Against Notre Dame, that was kind of a mix of both sides of the ball not getting the job, and especially special teams. You can't let a kick after you take the lead. You can't give up the ensuing kickoff for a touchdown. By the way, guess what? Nebraska, they have a pretty good special teams unit. So no kick returns, right? If USC is going to win this game, it has to make Jaden has to make the right decisions. I don't need him to be 100% perfect. Nobody is. But he has to make the right decision. He has to know when to pull it, when to run, when not to force a questionable throw downfield. Just make good decisions. Continue to get better game by game. So again, I understand Nebraska has a good pass defense. They'll even admit it. Everybody will admit it. Even the most diehard Nebraska fan will admit it. They have not played a team that has 2 NFL wide receivers and a couple of NFL tight ends. They just haven't. I understand that Nebraska has that good pass defense. I really do. But they have not faced USC's caliber of quarterback and wide receivers. Just haven't. So far, just remind everybody, this is who they played. Cincinnati, they're 6-1. That's a good team. Akron, please. Has anybody ever seen Houston Christian play before? They played Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, and Northwestern. Maryland at home passed for 250 yards. That was in Landover, Maryland. Or College Park, Maryland, excuse me. Michigan State, they only had 85 yards passing. That was in Lincoln, Nebraska. Minnesota, when they beat Nebraska at home, they had 153 yards through the air. Their defense just dominated Nebraska, 9 sacks. And I don't care how many starting offensive linemen they were missing. You don't give up 9 sacks. I mean, that's terrible. Are you telling me your second string guys can't fill in? Please. I had a Nebraska fan chime in on in my viewer comments on the YouTube channel. Please, don't convince me. Convince yourself. And then over the weekend, Northwestern was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and their quarterback threw for 159 yards. Jaden Mayava on the road so far this year, he threw for 282 at Purdue, 364 at Illinois, and 328 at Notre Dame. If Mayava is throwing for 350 or more yards at Nebraska, let me put this: if he's throwing for 300 or more at Nebraska, and as long as the run game is working, it's efficient, and he's not throwing because USC is behind on the scoreboard. So Jaden throws for 300 yards. The USC run game is efficient. It's 125, 150 yards. And Jaden's not throwing the ball a lot because they're trailing on the scoreboard. USC is going to be in a good position to win this game. I mentioned Walker Lyons. I mentioned Lake McCree. You already know about Jacoby Lane. You know about Mekhi Lemon. Well, since I talked about the tight ends, they're going to be an integral part of this. USC just added another tight end to the recruiting class, 2026. I'm going to talk about that next, coming up. College football is back, and you know me, I am so excited about college football. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets to the game can actually feel more of a battle than the game itself, with the endless queues, the hidden fees, the price jumping at checkout, all that. It sucks. That's why I encourage everyone to use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. There's no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time. I just checked it out. Just do a couple of taps. You're going to find amazing deals. And I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before checking out and buying a ticket. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So you all know about Mark Bowman, 5-star tight end out of Mater Dei. He's coming in with next year's recruiting class. He's probably the jewel of the class. One of the most highly sought after recruits in the country, regardless of position. USC pulled him. And that's a big pull. I think USC needs tight ends, though. They couldn't just go in with Mark Bowman and have that be the only guy. Lake McCree will be out of eligibility. Walker Lyons should be back. But USC also has Joey Olson and Walter Matthews. Here's the thing. You haven't seen Joey Olson or Walter Matthews play yet. What we've seen has been very minimal. Here's the thing. Lincoln Riley, Chad Savage, they now have another tight end that they can throw into their toy box. And somebody who's got some playing experience at the college level, JUCO level. WeAreSC's Scott Schrader reported USC hosted 2 official visitors the weekend that USC defeated Michigan 31-13 at the Coliseum. One of them was junior college transfer cornerback Jaquan Morris from Northwest Mississippi City College. The other one, Southwestern College tight end and a now former Utah commit, Josiah Jefferson. Morris committed to USC a few weeks back, and then Jefferson just announced his commitment to the Trojans Monday, October 27th. This is what Josiah had to say after he flipped from Utah to USC. The trip to USC was amazing. There's no better education than a USC degree, amazing hospitality from the coaches, and the environment is fantastic. I had a wonderful weekend for sure. End quote. Look, if I'm Kyle Whittingham, Utah's head coach, I'm probably getting a little ticked off at USC, regardless of the fact that he's had, more success on the field than most programs have had against the Trojans. Remember, Lincoln Riley went ahead and stashed their wide receiver 1 right after spring camp, Zacharias Williams. And now you're taking Jefferson, who looks like an NFL guy. I mean, he's got that look. 6'5", 230 pounds. He was committed to Utah since June. And then, he decided, hey, let me take a trip to USC. Let's see what's going on over there. A couple weeks later, he wants to be a Trojan. So USC's number 1 recruiting class just got stronger. And at the same time, you get to kind of, Utah, you thought you had him, now you don't. As far as Jefferson, where he's considered his ranking, he's considered the number 5 overall JUCO prospect, overall, period, in the 2026 cycle. And that's per Rivals. And then also, he is the number 1 junior college tight end in the country. So high praise. Through 7 games this fall, playing at Southwestern JC, 27 catches, 353 yards, 4 touchdowns. If you're trying to do the math, about 13 yards per catch. And then last year at Southwestern JC, he had 23 catches for 213 yards. You can see he's gotten better. He's more comfortable in his skin playing the position. And he already knows what it takes to get to the NFL. Why do I say that? Well, his older brother, Tony Jefferson, plays for the LA Chargers. If that name sounds vaguely familiar to USC fans, here's why. USC kind of gave him a cursory look coming out of high school. Didn't really make an offer. He eventually ended up at Oklahoma, but that was after he decommitted from UCLA. And I think that's when USC said, hey, are you interested? I don't know what kind of feedback they got because, again, he ended up playing at Oklahoma, and now he's had a great NFL career. And right now he's playing with the Chargers. So big brother will be down the street. He'll have somebody he can lean into when he needs to. But I'm sure some of you say, well, Mark, how many tight ends does USC need? As I said at the top of the segment, Lake is gone after this year. Joey Olsen, I have to assume he's probably going to be moving on. I mean, 2 years, we've virtually seen nothing. And then you got the whole mystery thing going on about Walter Matthews. That thing continues. Again, freak, 6'7", 85 pounds, 39-inch vertical, arms that just go on forever. I don't know. I know some people think he should switch positions to offensive tackle. Maybe it happens. Maybe he's set on playing tight end. Will he be back next year? I don't know. I would love to have him back because you don't get those types of physical freaks very often. Those don't grow on trees. So, yeah, I'd love to have him back. I just want to see him get involved. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, USC needs a guy with playing experience to go with Walker Lyons. And then you got Mark Bowman, who will be a true freshman. A lot of talent, but it's still, there's an adjustment period going from high school to college. It just doesn't happen like that. As much as we'd like it to, there's just very few players make that transition. But we'll see. Maybe Mark is that guy. But you really got to like this pickup. USC's number 1 ranked 2026 recruiting class just got a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper. That's never a bad thing. All right. Once again, I want to thank you all for making Locked On USC your first listen today. For your next listen, go check out the Locked On Big Ten show, hosted by Craig Shaman. You can check that out on YouTube. He does everything. He talks about everything. Everything Big Ten. USC, Indiana, all the rivalries. who's got a chance to make the playoffs, who doesn't. They'll get you involved in all that. And again, you can find that on YouTube. Or, he's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So your team every day. And don't forget, when you're done making Locked On your first, second, third listen, head on over there to wearesc.com. Check out the Inside the Trojan Huddle show that'll be up. Did that panel show this week with Eric and Greg and Chris. We talked about the Nebraska game as well. A lot of stuff. So until that next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.